Yo guys, just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video, and don't forget, let them cook. This is a Kinksters and Stoners special episode. Just since we're sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something really quickly right now?
I punched my 10-year-old brother in the face because he scared me, and he wasn't even trying to.
Now that I have you here, why don't you just go ahead and admit something for me real quick, please?
It flooded my entire shop at work, and I left the water hose on all night on accident, filling up a power washer. And when we came in the next morning, we stopped counting after cleaning 1,400 gallons of water off the floor.
Just since we're sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something, Angel?
Just received a DM on Discord, and the person asked, "Do you think I could get humiliated, degraded, and used to massage and kiss your feet on VR?"
Just since we're admitting things, why don't you go ahead and admit to something right now?
That I just have way too big of a fucking porn collection.
Just since we're sitting here admitting things, Pablo, why don't you just go ahead and admit something real quick?
I once tried, anal with myself. I mean,
just since we're admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something?
I've been a freelancer since April.
I need you to admit something.
I like big asses there.
Just since we're all sitting here admitting this stuff, why don't you just go ahead and admit to something right now real quick?
I think the thing I have to admit is I think Bobus is the absolute best. I am madly in love with Bobus.
I forgot that I had to do it again.
Yeah, that's what I have to fully admit.
Since we're sitting here admitting things, could you just go ahead and admit something real quick?
My balls itch.
Just since we're admitting things, why don't you go ahead and just admit to something?
I wish we could bring back slaves. Not just the people that are in jail for life, not innocent people. I need to clarify that.
Just since we're admitting things, could you just go ahead and admit something? Just since we're sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something real quick?
This one time I dropped a toaster and it hit somebody's toe.
Just since we're admitting things, why don't you go ahead and admit something right now?
Dropped my toaster and it hit my big toe.
Just since we're sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit to something?
I'm never not high.
Katie, to admit something for us?
I'm a dog.
Just since we're sitting here admitting to things, just go ahead and admit something real quick. Just since we're admitting things, right? Just since we're admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something right now?
That I got a fat ass, and it's true.
Just since I have you here, and just since we're sitting here admitting things, just can you admit something real quick for me, please?
Yeah, I'll admit that I don't want to admit anything.
Can I admit something?
Yes, Kishi. Just since we're admitting things, what are you admitting?
I broke my hymen with a Sharpie, and I just wanted to admit that.
Just since we're admitting things, just admit something real quick for me.
I really want to peg someone.
Just since we're sitting here admitting things, could you just admit something really quickly for me, please?
I'm old as shit.
Just since we're all sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit to something right now?
This one time, I bent down and I accidentally farted.
Just since we're sitting here admitting to things, why don't you just go ahead and admit to something?
I admit to eating a Reese's peanut butter cup a little bit ago.
Why don't you just go ahead and admit to something for me real quick?
My dog died 3 days ago. I've been doing it for almost a year. I carried like a 20-pound dog food bag home. I walked like 20 minutes with it. When I got back home, she was burying one of them alive. Then 8 hours later, she crushed it in front of me. Then 12 hours later, she had her final one. It lived for 7 weeks. Happiest dog. I named her and everything. Then when I walked into the room that they stayed in, she was like, her legs were stuck under the couch, and I feel like her back was broken because like the German Shepherd, I think, jumped on the couch and it crushed her, but she didn't know. She fell down the stairs when she had a seizure, and she landed on her wound that a groundhog attacked her 2 weeks ago. My ex-fiance left like 11 months ago. My 4 dogs had passed away. I started having panic attacks.
Yo, I'm here for you, eh? Yep. We're all here for you, brother. Not alone, man. Well, just since we're sitting here admitting things, why don't you go ahead and admit to something real quick?
I've got all the cocks in my mouth.
We're sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something real quick?
I will admit that, everything is cool and everything is awesome, yes.
Just since we're admitting things.
I'm gay.
You got anything you'd like to admit?
I haven't barked at a camera in a hot minute. It's tragic.
Why don't you just go ahead and admit to something?
I've watched snuff porn before. I stopped after the first 2 minutes because it was too much.
Just since we're admitting things, just go ahead and admit something real quickly.
Harvey's my puppy, man. Don't tell him though, he doesn't know yet.
Just go ahead and admit something really quick.
I'm standing in the shower.
Just since we're sitting here admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit to something?
Brother, I'm not in the mood.
When you're doing that, why don't you just admit something to me?
I am a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like an actual fucking nerd. I am a dungeon master.
Just since we're admitting things, why don't you just go ahead and admit something real quick, please?
I like mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Just real quick, could you please just since we're sitting here admitting things, would you just admit something to me real quick, please?
No.
Why don't you just go ahead and admit to something real quick?
Well, this one time, my buddy was dating this girl who was kind of using him, and I just kind of gaslit her into believing that he was cheating. It was pretty funny.
Just since we're sitting here admitting to things, could you just admit something real quick for me, please?
I used to be in the feet, not anymore.
Why don't you just admit something to me real quick right now?
Great, you're good. Thank you.
Want to go to the Shadow Realm?
I just need you to admit something real quick to me right now.
I'm not going to.
Just since we're sitting here admitting to things, why don't you just go ahead and admit to something real quick?
I respect Kishi, and I think she's a wonderful bar owner. And I've had great moments and more entertainment than any place in VR chat that I could think of.
Vex, how come you didn't admit to me? Vex, admit to me, Vex. I need you to admit to me, Vex. Didn't admit to me just since we's admitting, just since we's admitting, just since we's admitting, just since we're admitting. I'll tell you a tale of a person that didn't admit to me. aka Vex. Admit something right now. Are they gonna admit? But just since we're admitting, I'll admit something right now. Are they gonna admit? No, they can't. Is everything different? No, it ain't. Is everything strange? That's just the game. Admit something to me. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. The sunshine don't feel right until you admit to me low-key. I know you want to admit to me. Admit to me low-key. I low-key, I know you want to admit to me. Admit to me low-key. Low-key, I low-key, I know you want to admit to me. Admit to me. And the sunshine don't feel right until you admit to me. Are they gonna admit? No. Though they're gonna admit, but just since we're met now, are they gonna admit? But just since we's admitting, just since we's admitting, just since we's. I'll tell you a tale of a person that didn't admit to me. aka Vex, admit something right now. Are they gonna admit? But just since we're admitting, I'll admit something right now. The sunshine don't feel right until you admit to me low-key. I know you want to admit to me low-key. Admit to me low-key. I low-key, I know you want to admit to me. Admit to me, admit to me low-key. Low-key, low-key. I low-key, I know you want to admit to me. Admit to me, admit to me. And the sunshine don't feel right until you admit to me. Admit to me. Admit to me.
Yo guys, just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video, and don't forget, let 'em cook.